Time we talked about a little bit about how every division problem is really a multiplication problem wearing a different face. And so another way to think about why these two statements are true is to turn them into their equivalent multiplication problem. So how could I rewrite 2 divided by 0 equals undefined? What does that look like as a multiplication problem? Or maybe let's actually start with the second one first. 0 divided by -7 is equal to 0. What is that as a multiplication problem? Blank times blank equals blank. -7 times 0 is equal to 0, right. And so that 0 that's in the numerator, it appears right here. Right? And so because -7 times 0 is equal to 0, it's true that 0 divided by -7 equals 0. Right? These two are equivalent statements. One of them is true exactly because the other one is true. So if we apply that same rearrangement to our first example, what does it end up looking like as a multiplication problem? First of all, because the numerator ends up here as the product, what's the product in this going to be? So again, right, so here the product has got to be 2. And maybe you can begin to see what the problem is here. Right? Because now the other 2 slots, one of those other 2 slots has got to be filled by the denominator of this fraction, which before the denominator was -7, we placed it there. Here the denominator is 0, and so I'm going to place it here. And so the question of what is 2 divided by 0, whatever this quotient is, it's the missing factor in this multiplication problem. So it's an answer to the question, 0 times what is equal to 2? Well, why doesn't that question have an answer? Why is it undefined? That's what I'm trying to get at here. Why doesn't the question 0 times blank equals 2 have an answer? Because anything times 0 is 0, right? It's not possible for us to multiply 0 by anything to make it something not 0. That's another thing we're going to meet in different disguises later in the semester when we talk about factoring. It's not possible to multiply 0 by something and get a non-zero answer. Because that's one of the things that makes 0, 0, right? It's this sufficiently large void that if I multiply it by anything, it remains void, right? There's no power in the universe, in the finite universe, large enough to multiply 0 and get something non-zero out of it. Okay? 0 is a black hole. And so it's not possible. There's no solution to this equation, this missing factor problem, right? And that's why, sort of from a multiplication standpoint, 2 over 0 is undefined. Okay. And so now that we've had the practice of doing that, now let's tackle the 0 over 0 question. And then we're going to leave this topic there. I told you I'd get up on a soapbox about this one. 0 over 0 equals something. If we turn that into a multiplication problem, what does that look like? Blank times blank equals blank. First of all, this blank in all of our examples was playing the role of this missing factor. So this one's going to be blank. But then the other 2 are going to be 0. The denominator ends up here, and the numerator ends up there. And so whatever 0 over 0 is, it's an answer to the question 0 times what is equal to 0. And how would I answer that question? It could be literally anything, exactly. So that's a problem of a different sort, right? There's too many solutions. Everything works, again, because of the nature of 0. Any number that I put in this blank would be a solution of this multiplication problem. But we can't write every possible number in the real number system in this box, right? Multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, all the operations of arithmetic, we need them to be what are called functions in mathematics. We need them to spit out one answer when we ask them one question, right? And so we can't have a situation where this division problem comes up with infinitely many different solutions. And so for that same reason, we will also call 0 over 0 undefined. Although, Alex, for your sake, as a math major, there's another word that we also will use in this situation that does set it apart from the situation up here, where we will always call 2 over 0 in quantities that are non-zero divided by 0 undefined. We'll also occasionally call 0 over 0 indeterminate, which is a slightly fancier way to say it's not undefined because there are no possibilities. It's undefined because there are too many possibilities for what it can be. So it's not enough to determine what the value of 0 divided by 0 is, because any number that I put in this blank is going to make the multiplication problem true. It turns out, on your road to calculus, and we're all on the road to calculus here, on the road to calculus, 0 over 0 is going to be a conceptual theme. That when you get up into calculus, a lot of the quantities that you define in calculus that are important to study, those quantities come from expressions that look like 0 over 0.